everyone, welcome back to Bookish Nook. Today I am doing my September wrap-up and October TBR. So in the month of September I read 7.5 books and one graphic novel trade bind-up thing, which isn't as much as I've been reading during the summer, which sucks, but school started and I've had to make a lot of life decisions and schoolwork has just gotten in the way, so I didn't read as much, but the books that I did read I am super excited about. The first book that I read was Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas, and this is the third book in the Throne of Glass series. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars, and it kind of pained me to do so because of how much I loved Throne of Glass. But I felt, and I'm in the minority here, I know that, but I felt like the pacing in this book was so slow. I found myself just stopping reading because the pace was just slow and I was getting so bored of this book. Especially the new perspective, the witches. If you've read this, you know what I'm talking about. I hated them. I hated that perspective, and it wasn't until the end where you kind of started feeling empathy for them and understanding why they do what they do. But at that point, it was just too late for me to care about them. And I think I'm going to reread the last 60 or 65 pages or so, because by then I was just wanting to finish the book. But I wrote a full review over at my Goodreads, so if you check that out, you can read my review and understand more my thoughts on why I rated it a 3 stars. The next book that I read is The Infinite Sea by Yancey, which is book 2 to The Fifth Wave. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I loved this book, but I also felt like it was just a bridge between The Infinite Sea, the Fifth Wave. I liked this book, but I felt like it acted as a bridge between The Fifth Wave and the third book that isn't out yet. Not much happened in it to develop the plot-wise, but a lot happens. I did a full review on it, so I will leave that link down below for you to check out. The third book that I read was The Jewel by Amy Ewing. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked this book. I enjoyed the concept. I had a few minor issues with it, but I did a full review on that, so I'll link it down below. The fourth book that I read this month was Rumble by Hopkins. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. This was the Booksplosion pick of the month for September, I believe, but I love Hopkins, so I picked it up because Hopkins. This book follows a boy who is an atheist, and he's trying to come to terms with his little brother's suicide, his family who's falling apart, and as him and his girlfriend become estranged. And religion plays a pretty big part in this book, but not in the way that you think. So definitely check this out. I think this is actually a great place to start for an Hopkins book. But if this doesn't interest you, any other of her books will probably interest you. The next book that I read was Day 21 by Cass Morgan. This is the second book to the 100. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars, although I probably should have given it a 3. But I feel like this series has so much missed potential that I couldn't rate it a 3 because of that missed potential, and I just so desperately want this trilogy or series, I'm not sure, to be good. I love the concept for this. 100 kids are sent down to Earth to see whether or not it's habitable, and then you kind of follow them from there. And that is just so unique to me, and I just really wish that the author would capitalize on such a great concept. The second to last book that I read this month was Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. Let me just say how amazing this book is. I was so blown away. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars, and if I could give it more, I would. This is probably the best book that I read so far this year, and when I do my top 10 books of 2014, don't be surprised if this is probably number 1. I read Dark Places by Gillian Flynn, I think last year, and I wasn't wowed by it, but it was good. So I was kind of expecting the same thing going into this book, but my god, is this book a million times better. I just cannot form words just thinking about this book. It's so amazing. So if you haven't read this book, I would definitely recommend it. It is an adult book, so there are adult themes, so be wary of that. But Flynn just crafts this amazing and intricate story with just as amazing and intricate characters that it is hard to put down. I found myself having to physically restrain myself from reading it. So I had to put this book in another room while I did my homework because I just wanted to read it so badly. So definitely pick this up. The last book that I read was Ignite by Lily Paradis. She sent this to me for review, which I'm eternally grateful for because this book is amazing. This is considered a contemporary. I wouldn't classify it as young adult, but I also wouldn't classify it as completely adult, sort of like new adult, but not really. Either way, this book follows a girl named Lauren as she's just trying to live her life. You know, she lost her father, and that really hurt her like 2 years ago, and her and her mom don't have the best relationship. So she's just trying to get through university so she can move on with her life, when she gets a call from her uncle saying that her stepmom has passed away and left her as the guardian for her three children. So Lauren has to make the decision of whether or not to keep the children or send them to foster care. And while she's sort of making that decision, she's living with these children and she meets the mysterious Dean Powell. And let me just say, he's probably one of the most swoon-worthy guys I've read in a while. Loved him to pieces. Her writing style is so easy to read and so easy to like and just lose yourself in it. She makes references to Henry Cavill, I think that's how you pronounce it, the actor who plays Superman, and I love him, so I love those references. But either way, this book is a lot more than it seems. There's a deeper layer to it. So it's not just your fluffy contemporary where, you know, the guy and the girl love each other, but they have a little few secrets that are keeping them apart and finally they overcome them. This is a lot more than that, and this has to do a lot with, you know, learning to accept the things life gives you and make the best of them and overcome things in your past that you probably think you couldn't, and a deeper understanding of yourself as a person and where you belong in the world. So I would definitely recommend this book. Apparently there is a second one from Dean's point of view, so I cannot wait to read that. The last thing I read this month was a graphic novel trade paperback bind-up of Spider-Man, and it is The Amazing Spider-Man. This is the Ultimate Collection by Strekowski and Romita Jr. Sorry. I went to my local comic book store and I wanted to get into Spider-Man because they have a new reboot of it, and I've been reading those, but I wanted to sort of read like the origin story, like Peter gets bit, he becomes Spider-Man, etc. And I wanted to see where Gwen Stacy fit into the timeline along with Mary Jane, etc. So he recommended this. I picked it up. $40 later, so expensive. I wasn't disappointed, but I wasn't wowed by this story. And it starts at issue 35, I think it is. And but this is book 1, so I was a little disappointed with that. You didn't get the full origin story. And in this, I don't want to give anything away if you haven't read it, but I wouldn't recommend starting with this one. I would definitely recommend starting with something else. That's something else, I don't know, but I wouldn't recommend starting with this. My half book that I read this month is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm really bad at classifying books for their genre, so I'm just going to say this is new adult because it's definitely not young adult. This follows a girl named Bree who she has to get away from her life. A whole bunch of awful things happen to her and she just needs to get away. So she drives to this small town where she used to vacation with her family and rents a cottage, gets a job, and there we go. She's just trying to live her life, get away for a bit, and then she meets the mysterious Archer. And Archer has somewhat of a reputation in town, and not the reputation you think. He is sort of the town recluse. No one really knows his story. He has an awful past that the whole town knows. Part of it, but not the full story, of course. And Bree befriends him, and a whole bunch of things ensue from there. I'm really enjoying her writing style. It sort of reminds me of Colleen Hoover, which is a pretty high compliment. If you've read Colleen Hoover, I just love the characters. Bree and Archer are so complex, and the way they fit together is really nicely. And I just love that Archer isn't your typical, you know, male love interest where he is like the womanizer and knows exactly what to do because he's been with so many women. So I'm really loving that aspect of it, and this book doesn't shove it in your face like other books do that he's inexperienced. So I am definitely enjoying that. So once I've finished that, I am picking up The Mark of Athena by Riordan. I am buddy reading this with a manual from M-Dog Reads, so I will leave a link to his channel down below. I love buddy reading with him because we have such similar tastes, and I've been really wanting to get back into the story. I picked up the first two during the summer. I never really got around to these, but the last book is coming out and I want to get it done. So yes, this will be the first book I pick up after Archer's Voice. The rest of these books I'm trying to go for like a October, you know, kind of creepy theme, so I tried to pick more Halloween-y books. So the first book that I am going to read is Mara by Denny. And if you recognize that name, it's for a reason, because he is a fellow booktuber here on YouTube, so I'll leave a link to his channel down below. He wrote this short story. It was for free on Amazon, so I picked it up. It's like 70 pages or something about a girl named Mara who sort of starts devolving and goes insane. I'm so excited to read something by him because I know he's wrote a few other books, but he's fantastic, and his intros for his videos will beat anyone in everyone's intros. They're amazing. So definitely go check out his channel if you haven't. Next book that I am so excited to read, probably one of the books that I'm most excited to read this month, is The Body Electric by Beth Revis, which is a new standalone book that she has. I ordered this like limited edition copy that I cannot wait to get in the mail. But either way, this book takes place in the same universe as the Across the Universe trilogy, which if you haven't picked up, you definitely should. But this takes place on Earth while they're gone, so you get to see the advancements Earth makes. And this book just sounds like everything and more, and I cannot wait to read it. The next book I plan on reading is Witches of East End by Melissa de la Cruz. All I know about this is that it's about witches and it has a TV show, so I'm pretty excited to read this. The next book that I plan on reading is A Dollhouse to Die For by Cate Price. This is about a mystery with a dollhouse that holds clues for a murder. It's part of a like Nancy Drew kind of series, so I'm pretty excited to read this. I also plan on reading This Is Not a Test by Courtney Summers. I bought this such a long time ago, probably almost 2 years ago, but this is about the zombie apocalypse with a bunch of teens who are sort of trying to survive in a school. I know this book focuses more on the teens than the actual zombies. And I also want to try to get to Red Dragon by Thomas Harris, which is the first book in the Hannibal series or whatever. I love the TV show, so I'm excited to get into the books to read the origin. This is perfect for closer near Halloween because it is, I heard it's pretty gruesome, so. And sort of as a bonus book this month, I want to read A Feast for Crows by George R. R. Martin, which is the 4th book in the Song of Ice and Fire series. Now, the condition I gave myself for this book is if the professors at my university go on strike, which it's looking like they will, then I will pick this book up because it is pretty chunky. I think it's like 1,000 pages. Oh, wait, maybe not. Maybe not. It's around 980 pages, so. But if they go on strike, I will read that. That's why my TBR pile is a little bit bigger than I think I'll get to because I'm sort of anticipating if they go on strike. So yes, that's everything that I've read and currently reading and plan on reading. So if you've read any of them, let me know down below, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye.